Yeah, well, I understand I got a lot on my mind, a lot on my chest. That's why.
What's going on, everybody? Lloyd Jones with Indie Breakdown, the show where we break down your favorite indie comic book characters' power, stats, and abilities and get them ready for an indie versus matchup. We are doing episode 2 of season 4. Very excited. And not only, of course, am I excited for the new season, we do have an amazing guest star that we actually met at Atlanta Comic Con not too long ago. So I'm going to bring him to the stage here, let him introduce himself, and then we're going to start talking about his amazing character. We don't have just one character this time around. We got a doozy for you guys this episode. But anyway, without further ado, what's going on, Chief?
Hey, how's it going? I'm M. Quan Boyd. I'm the writer and creator of First Brigade. It's my comic book series, which is a one-and-done style series about a group of superpower first responders. So think about any extraordinary activity that might go down, like acid rain or bees attacking or monsters coming out of the sea. They will be the first people that you would call in to deal with these problems. You know, you wouldn't call in local law enforcement. And they take up the city of New York. That's like their residency, and it's comprised of, the team is comprised of 7 different females of different nationalities, different various demographic backgrounds and things of that nature. And for me, it's been a labor of love. It's something I've been wanting to do my whole life. I got into comic books when I was like 10 years old because I struggled with reading, and then eventually along the way I discovered I really wanted to write comics. So my mom, being the woman that she was like, prove it. And from that point on, that was my life's mission. And maybe at this point, about 10 years ago was where I really came up with the idea for First Brigade. So like I really started to really cultivate and develop the different characters. And about this time last year, I finally produced my first issue. And as you've seen, I've already had 2 issues I've done and currently working on a 3rd issue. So it's been a joy to put together and then be able to see people respond to it. That's been my biggest joy. It's like, I know what I've had in my head, but actually getting to see it live and then getting to see people's enjoyment and like talking to people and seeing what they love about the comic. I couldn't ask for anything more.
I feel it, dude. And artwork, story, pacing, the whole 9, fire. So we actually, side tangent here. We, me and Tasha on the Midnight Comic side of things has a show called What We're Reading. And basically that show we talk about comics that we enjoy, like whether we like the art, the pace of the story, all that stuff. And we did do a video, still needs to be posted, but we did do a video on First Brigade. So be on the lookout for that coming soon. But dude, we enjoyed the heck out of that story, dude. So
I appreciate that. I truly do. Like as a kid, when I started getting into comics, I wanted to be a writer and an artist. And so I got into the writing first because it was the hardest thing for me. So it was the thing that I worked on the most. And along the way, I was like, okay, I'll try art as well. I got into college, took an art class, and I realized immediately, no, I'm just a writer. So like I really took the time with the story. It's just like really develop it in a style. I always joke, like I write the stories in the way in which 10-year-old me would want to read it. What would 10-year-old me be into? Like what type of stories was he into? Like the type of pace, the type of characterization, like even from the dialogue. It was like these are the things that I latched onto as a kid. So it was like it was easy for me to write this series because it's like I'm literally just writing it for the younger version of me.
Yeah.
So it's like issue 1 was a joy to write, and then for me personally, issue 2 was like that's my hands down my favorite that I wrote, even though issue 1 is like that's the stepping stone, that's the one where you get to know the team, but issue 2 is just it's so much more personal for me, and it's because like the joy that I take with the characters.
And what I'll say is like it's even kind of more honed in, right? Because you go from all 7 right to honing in on just 2 characters. And it's just like, again, it's kind of more what word should I use? A little bit more of an intimate look into the characters, the personality, especially Trouble when she's going against the character. Oh my gosh. So So
we'll get to those characters. We'll get to all of them. Give me
one. Start from the top, character-wise. What you looking for?
I'm looking for my power cord.
Oh no, the battery's about to die.
Yeah, like don't worry. Everything's close.
Okay. And then when you get that set up, we are going to talk first about Major Indra.
Oh, okay, Major Indra. Oh, hold on. I lost the light.
We'll fix it in post.
I'm having technical difficulties, folks.
You good?
That's what happens in real life.
Right. The unexpected.
All right, so we'll get this computer back up. All right, so that's not a problem right now. And hold on, let me. Okay, that might be a problem. Give me a second.
Oh no. We'll edit all this, of course.
Oh, of course. Okay, I don't need that. I need that. Oh no! Don't tell me my light died. I think my light died.
Oh.
Hold on. I do a little streaming, or I've been trying to. So like, I got my light set up, and I was like, "Oh no, that thing's perfect." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm gonna die on you at the exact moment you need me."
Listen, one thing we used to stream back in the day before the comics and stuff, and you're not a real streamer unless you have an audio visual issues.
Oh my god,
that's it.
I feel it. I'm definitely feeling it right now.
And it always happens after you hit the live button every time.
Like, all my lights are down on me right now. I don't know what's going on. All right. Okay. Now I look like a scary person. Hold on.
I mean, it is fall. It's getting to Halloween.
Hey, I mean, the villain I got an issue too. It makes sense.
Right.
Hold on. Let me jury rig some stuff real fast.
Okay.
I gotta figure this out. Wow. All right. We're just gonna go with a more low intimate light. Is that still good?
That's fine with me. It's all good.
All right, so where were we? You said you wanted to start with Major Indra.
Let's start with Major
Okay,
Indra.
so it's funny that you mentioned Major Indra first, because when I first developed the team, she was the first character I created.
Okay.
So you could probably see some of my Funkos in the background. I'm a huge X-Men fan. So the way I kind of devised Major Indra was I thought I needed a Professor X type of character for the team. Not necessarily somebody that's going to be out in the field, but somebody that it's like that all the other team members gravitate towards, like that centerpiece. And so Major Indra, I didn't start necessarily. I'll just say this blanketly about all my characters. I didn't start with powers. When I started with my characters, I started with personalities and how they either contrast or relate to another character. So with Major Indra, I knew she was going to be more of a strong, stoic, kind of level-headed type of character. She needed to be that type of person if she was going to run this type of organization.
Right.
So for me, it was the thing of she needed to be the person of the team that is kind of like the mom, the older sister type. Yeah. Like in a lot of ways, like most older sisters, I don't have any older sisters, but I have an older cousin who's an older sister, and they get most of the flack, but they had to take on all the responsibility. So it was like, in that case, that's who Major Indra had to be. She had to be that character that's like everybody feeds off of and bounces off of and has to deal with, but necessarily doesn't always get all of the credit for everything that's going on. But also that made her fascinating because she has this subtle, dry sense of humor. Like you might not necessarily see it in this particular issue, but she does let herself go at times. It's just you never know when it's going to occur. But for me, like her character was the character that had to be the most baseline.
Okay, kind of grounded.
Yeah, like my most grounded character, because everybody else's kind of personalities are extremes in one way or another off of her personality. So when I came up with the character, and the name actually related to her power set. So Indra is, I may get this wrong, but I think it's a Hindu goddess of like the storm and harvest and lightning. So I was just like, oh man, that's a cool name, Indra. And then I've always liked kind of like militaristic names, like you know, like Sergeant. So like that was really how I came up with the name Major Indra. It was just like Indra was a cool name, but I was like, it needed something more, and I was like,
some oomph to it.
Yeah, I was like, when I threw that Major in front, I was just like, oh, that's cool, it, bro. I was like, that's it. Yeah, I got one with that one. So it's like that's kind of how I came up with like the name, and then like the personality was more so the most important thing. And the power set electricity was, I wanted something that was powerful, but something that could also be restrictive. My thing is with my characters, and especially the heroes of First Brigade or heroines of First Brigade, everybody has a specific power, but I have a thing about, and it's just a personal gripe from reading superhero comics my whole life. I hate my heroes being overpowered. I hate them being to a point where they can do almost anything and there's nothing for them to overcome.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I wanted my characters to have cool powers, and I wanted someone to have like higher levels of power, like they're alpha level, beta level, or however you want to power scale it. But then I want those characters that's more or less street level powers.
Right.
And kind of like, and then that's kind of, if you look at the composure of the team, that's kind of how I compose the team. I have my upper level power source characters, but then I have more of those street level characters. And in some cases, I have a character with no powers on the team.
See.
So.
And I think I know exactly which character you're talking about with that. Okay, we'll get to that. That. I was like, wait a second, no powers? Okay. Is it Backshot?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's funny you mentioned Backshot, because that was the character I came up with after I came up with Major Indra.
Okay. So we'll go to Backshot.
One thing I didn't talk about with Major Indra that is hinted in the first issue and it's subtle in the first two issues. She's ex-law enforcement. She used to be a member of the NYPD. So that's why she's the grounding character. A lot of her backstory ties into the creation of the First Brigade as a whole. Okay. So without giving away too much of some potential stories that I have that I'm still working on for future stories, there's a connection between Backshot and Major Indra, because Backshot is a former criminal. So it's like, and I'll give you this is how I came up with the idea of Backshot. Do you remember the show White Collar?
No, I don't.
It was a show like USA a few years back, White Collar.
So it's a while back. USA.
Yeah, it was about this guy that was he was a criminal and he got pardoned, but he was working for the FBI on white collar cases.
Okay, yeah.
And so his character was Neil Caffrey. He was a criminal. He got arrested for one thing, but as you watch the show, this dude was like a criminal in so many other ways. Okay. So when I was coming up with Backshot, talking about contrasting personalities, since I knew Major Indra was a former cop, I felt the best thing to contrast it would be a former criminal. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where Backshot came from. And then Backshot, a lot of Backshot's, the idea of Backshot as a character and like why she has no powers actually came from a pitch I did years before I did First Brigade. Mm-hmm. I was trying to work with a particular artist on an anthology story, and he was looking for different writers to write different sci-fi pitches for his book. And I wrote this really cool sci-fi story with this character. Like, so the helmet and the gauntlets literally came from this story that I had. Oh, right. Okay. And I wrote it out, and the guy was like, "Oh man, this is cool, but it doesn't quite fit what I'm looking for. Maybe we can circle back around at some point and work on something else." Mm-hmm. You know how it is sometimes working with different artists or trying to work with different artists. You kind of lose contact, things happen. Yeah. But I kept that pitch. And so when I was coming up with the idea of Backshot, I automatically knew I wanted her to be powerless. I kind of wanted her to just kind of be based off of like her skill. And I always like that one character on the team book that has no powers, but it's like just as like.
And they're still keeping up.
Yeah, they still keeping up. So that was Backshot. And then I was looking at this character design. And I was like, oh, I love that helmet and the gauntlets. And so I literally just like, pow, Backshot. But then what I wound up doing along the way, I originally wanted to give more backstory of Backshot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you see is what I'm giving you. Like, if you want anything more, we'll see.
Find out in the next exciting issue.
Yeah.
Well, so go back to Major Indra really quick. So she has electrical abilities.
Yes.
To what extent? To what extent does her abilities go?
So she can manipulate electrical currents, like in the air. To like her highest extent is like she can cause lightning strikes. Like, but it's got to be enough. It's got to be enough of all that. I can't.
So it's influencing what already exists instead of creating. Okay.
Yeah, she can't necessarily create electricity out of nothing. She has to be able to pull currents from somewhere.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, so if she's in a room full of technology, you're screwed. But if she's out, and I'm like, so perfect example for major injury. Don't put her on don't put her out in the sea. Don't put her on a boat. Water and electricity don't mix, right?
Facts.
So that's a natural, right? That's her natural weakness. It's I hate to use the term. It would be her kryptonite.
Okay.
Like so, but like yeah, she can control electricity. It does give her some abilities to like float, manipulate, flight, but she's not a flyer.
I see.
Kind
of like a hovering situation.
Yeah, it's more like a hovering situation with major injury. But like she can, as long as she can collect electricity around her, whatever the highest electricity that she can produce that's around her is what she can produce. Like she can interact with. So like if there's thunderstorms going on in the vicinity and she's the person that has to be called on the call and you're the bad guy, you're screwed.
Literally cooked.
Literally cooked because it's like I can just take one of these and just
So
yeah, major and I would say as far as my power levels, major injury is probably top 3 on my team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how to ask this? Will it second conversation, right? Thunderstorm is happening and she utilizes the electricity and lightning that's available there. Does she amplify it or is she literally just using?
She can amplify it to a certain extent. Like just because everybody, like human bodies have a certain amount of electrical currency that we produce too. So it's like kind of adding on to what she already has within her.
Okay. And this is going to be kind of an overview for all of them really quick, these particular questions. But like durability wise, they're all relatively normal human beings, correct?
With the exception of maybe somebody like Replica because of the nature of her abilities, and Friction because of her power set. Like but but as you can see in issue 2, I won't spoil it, but as you can see in issue 2, like you can definitely, these people can definitely get hurt, broken bones, broken nose, even worse.
Okay, so we can skip over the are they super strong? Then they're obviously not like that.
Okay, so this is a gripe of me as a comic book reader. I'm not a huge fan of super strength. I'm not a huge fan of like super durability. Like it's just, to me, I feel like and it's just more the writer in me. I feel like it's a crutch. I feel like it makes it easier for a writer to write a character out of a situation because they're vulnerable.
If they have a MacGuffin, anything is possible.
So like, don't get it twisted. My characters have MacGuffins. They're just harder to recognize. And that's like, it's like every character has some type of MacGuffin to get them in or out of a situation. It's just like with my character, they
don't have an answer for everything.
Right? And that's the thing with me. It's like my characters don't have an answer for everything, and it's like sometimes stuff happens, and it's like, okay, this is how we react in the situation. Issue 2 is a perfect example of that for me. It's like, okay, this thing literally happened out of the blue. How do these people react to it? It doesn't go perfectly, but there's something that comes up out of it that can fuel things forward in the future.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, shoot. Let's so Major Indra, just to make sure we're on the same page, electrical manipulation. She can pull in any type of electricity that's already around her to utilize that as an offensive. But I am curious, can she use it defensively, right? Can she code herself in electricity?
Like, let's say like kind of like an electrical like force field or something like that. Yeah. Like, so Major Indra, in terms of, if you want to talk about characters in terms of the team that abilities and usefulness of their abilities are at the peak of their usefulness, Major Indra will be at the top of that list. She's learned how to master. Like, if she was in like in math, she would have a master's degree in her power, so a PhD. It's like
she's been at this for a second.
Yeah, she's been at it for a second and really fine tuning her like her upper echelons of what she can and can't do with her abilities.
Okay.
And then as you go down the scale, we'll get to, if you go in any type of order, we'll get to the person that's lowest on that scale at some point.
I am actually, so I'm looking back and forth at your front inner cover that you have all the characters listed on here.
Okay.
So next up, with that being said, let's talk about Replica, which, here's what I like, right? Because at first it was like, oh, okay, well, she's going to replicate her, she's going to replicate, herself, like double up or something like that. And it's just like, no. We're taking it a step further here. So dive into Replica for us.
Okay, so Replica was the second character I created for the book, or third, depending on if you want to mention Backshot. But her character was a character I was fascinated with. So are you familiar with X-Men 2099?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't remember the character's name, but his ability was he can turn into certain metals. Like I think it was like gold or silver. So like it was like basically a next gen version of Colossus. So that kind of power set always played in my head, and kind of with Replica, personality played into it, and then props. I always use those two phrases with Replica. So with Replica, I knew I wanted her to be kind of more of a pious, I guess I had to use the term, more of a religious type of person.
Yeah.
And that came just kind of back to the X-Men thing, like thinking about characters like Nightcrawler or Kitty Pryde, where their faith, they wear it on their sleeve. If you don't know much about those characters, you know Kitty Pryde's Jewish, Nightcrawler's a devout Christian. So with Replica, I wanted to kind of play off of that idea of like having somebody that their faith is like at the forefront of their character. And then that's when the whole idea, that's where the prop comes in, the rosary. And so she wears that rosary, which has different elements, and it's basically any physical element. Like, so, on a periodic table, we got solids, liquids, and gases. So anything that's a solid on the periodic table is pretty much
she could replicate.
On it. So she can replicate. When I was originally coming up with the character, I was gonna do solids, liquids, and gases, but then I was just talking about having heroes with like caps to their powers. I was like, if she could do all that, she would be OP. And I was just like, what's the point? So I just kind of modified it down to just the solids. And then I was just like, oh, she's kind of like, I'm not saying she's Colossus on my team, but she can kind of be like my Colossus on the team.
Yeah. But
with the exception, she could turn into all of these different. And it's just me as a writer now. I get to play with all these different things.
Everything,
yeah. It's like, oh man, I can have her in this scene, and in this fight, she could turn into this, or at this moment. So it's like, as a writer, it just gave me something to play with, but also gave me restraints to how she operates.
And question, now this might be a silly question, but does this work on her internal organs as well, or is this just not a dumb question.
I was glad you asked that question. Like, it was something I really thought about. So like, it's not that her skin just turns into metal. So with Replica's powers, it's because of nanites that are in her bloodstream, self-replicating nanites.
Okay.
And they work kind of as a defense mechanism. So whenever she touches a object and she turns into it, it's not just skin, it's literally blood, organs, everything. So it works for her, but it's a problem because that's one of those things she can't have kids. Because of the so that'll play into her relationship with her husband. That's something else that I mentioned. It just gets mentioned in issue 2 that she's married, and actually in issue 3 you'll actually see her with her husband.
Okay,
but that's something.
Next question in regards to that then is, and this might be an overall thing for all of them. Are they all born with their abilities, or is this from an outside source? Okay,
these are. Okay, so all 7 of my characters got their powers through different outside sources. The way I jumped into the series, I kind of did it like the way most people get thrown into comic books. They just get thrown into an issue and just have to figure some things out. So I know I could tell every character's particular origin story, but honestly, with a team book, the way I started out the team book, it would have been boring to me. Like, just kind of be like, okay, now here's this person's origin. Now here's this person's origin. Now here's this person. Now here's the origin of the team linking up. I'm just like, well, their first responders, let me just put them in some action.
Okay.
And, along the way, you'll learn the different characters' origin. And it's actually been fun in the process because it's allowed me throughout this process of writing the different issues that I've been writing to sprinkle in different parts of their past into the stories, like while it's in like more of a present state of mind. So like, it's kind of like when you meet somebody new. You don't learn everything about them when you immediately meet them. Over time, you learn different things about that person, backstory, things about their present, things about their personality, how they act. So I just kind of really played into that while writing this series. Like, I could give all of this backstory and give you the whole origin before all this crazy action starts, or I could just give you the action and then sprinkle
it in
along the way.
No, valid. No. So I like that you did that. We have taken the slow burn route. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I get it because I have another project that I'm working on, which is funny because it's tied to the stuff that I'm working on now. That's a slow burn. So it's like and I've literally started to put together the pieces of it from the stuff you've read already. And if anybody else gets their hands on it, they've been reading. Like it's like I'm a Chris Claremont X-Men fan, and you know that man would write sagas that took years, decades even. So it's like I have a few of them in there, and if you're an eagle-eyed reader, you might catch certain hints. There are certain things that within the language that add into it that's like it's world building, but it's world building in a way where if you're not paying attention, it'll go over your head. But if you're like an avid reader, you're like, wait a minute, why did this character just say that? Like let me double back to that. So there are different things that I have going on, but like I definitely get the slow burn. The slow burn is like I love the slow burn. I love writing slow burns, but I don't know. I think also in today's current market, just of trying to get people's attention, whether it be comics, film, or whatever, sometimes you have to just kind of grab the audience's attention. And it wasn't like I purposely did that with First Brigade with the first issue. It was really when after I composed creating the characters, I was really so juiced about writing these characters. I literally just came up with that script. And it wasn't like, oh, I was thinking about, oh, I need to do this, and this. It was like, no, this is kind of cool. And then after I looked at it, I was like, that's a really cool first issue. And then I just kind of revised it a few times from there and just kind of worked it. But it was never, because if I had really just sat down and really thought about it, it probably would have been more of a slow burn. I probably would have started with Major Indra being the central character and kind of show how the team developed and grew out from her point of view.
Fair.
But
no,
it just kind of worked.
Have an explosive first issue. It's pretty good.
I appreciate that.
So we're gonna move to Trouble then. Before we move to Trouble, in regards to Replica, obviously whatever she mimics element wise, she has that same level of durability and strength. Okay.
And one other thing I failed to mention. So Replica is an ex-Olympic athlete. So like she's already has like peak level stamina, strength, speed, agility, and things of that nature. So that not even with the added ability, she's pretty much somebody you probably wouldn't want to mess with on a normal day of the week. And she does this while wearing heels.
Oh yeah, she's trouble. Okay. So let's move to Trouble then. Talk to us a little bit about Trouble.
Oh, Trouble. Oh, hold on. I need to take a sip for this.
Hold on. There we go.
So, okay. So Trouble is the oldest, youngest character on the team. And I have to say that in this regard. So age-wise, she's the youngest character of the team. Being a 13-year-old, she's the new as of the first issue, she's only been on the team for about maybe a month, 6 weeks at most.
Okay.
But I say she's the oldest character because I've been wanting to write comic books since I was 12. I created the character of Trouble when I was 12.
Oh wow.
Okay. I've had Trouble the character in my head since I was 12 years old. The only difference between Trouble and current day and Trouble and past day is the jacket.
Oh wow. That's it. That's the only change. Jeez,
like that, the wild hair, the tennis shoes, the attitude.
Yeah. She's probably, the whole story is written well, everything is great. But her dialogue, there is a special bit of attention I feel like that you put on her, especially kind of like back and forth dialogue that she has, especially in issue 2.
Oh my god! Now, here's a funny story. You mentioned that back and forth dialogue because I know exactly the page you're talking about. That's one of my favorite pages in the story. I rewrote that dialogue 3 times. Because I sent it off to my artist, Lucas Pereira. Shout out to my artist, Lucas Pereira. And he always does these things where I'll send him the script and I'll send him the script with my dialogue attached. And I always tell Lucas, hey, the dialogue is kind of just, it's placeholder. It's not permanent, but it kind of gives me and you an idea of what I'm trying to do with the page. And so I give him the page and I get this page back and the detail and some of the small physical, like the way he move, like the way he has the characters like kind of set and like positioned, and like some of the little physical details. Like there's one panel on the page where one of the characters is kind of doing this. You know the panel I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
I don't want to spoil if anybody doesn't read it.
Yeah, no, valid.
And when I saw that panel, I originally had something else completely written in that page. And I saw that panel, I was like, oh no, this person has to say something completely different. So I literally wiped everything that I had as far as like my dialogue. I didn't even probably save it. I was just like, delete. I deleted everything. And I went back and I was like literally really examining each individual panel, looking at the facial expressions, like body language, and really like kind of examining how these characters were interact. And and also played into the fact that when I originally wrote the story, I thought the story was going to be a versus of Replica versus the antagonist in the issue. When I got to that page, I realized that wasn't the story. It was Trouble versus the antagonist of that issue. Okay. And that's what helped me kind of play around with that dialogue. And it's funny because I actually had these funny talk about the special care, because I have a friend of mine. He was like, man, it sounds like how we talk to each other. I thought that was like one of the best compliments, because it was like, okay, so Trouble's voice, this is this is how I came up with Trouble's voice. I had an idea of how she should talk, but in my day job I had a few years ago, I used to manage a bunch of teenage young ladies. And here's the thing about teenage young ladies. They have no filter. They will say whatever they want, whenever they want, and they won't care about your feelings. And it's not because they're mean. It's just because they're teenagers and they don't get it. So that literally played into me writing Trouble. Whenever I start writing Trouble, I'm literally hearing all these teenage girls I used to work with and how they would. I was a manager, and I'm like, I was the cool manager, and they would just say things to me that would even make me look at them crazy. Like, little girl, you can get fired for some of the stuff you saying to me.
Done.
They wouldn't, being them, they wouldn't care. So that's pretty much Trouble's voice. Trouble is every teenage girl I've ever worked with.
Wow. Okay. And yeah, you can, that comes across, completely in that character. So fantastic job with that. But what can she do?
Okay, so Trouble can create plasma bombs. She can like absorb plasma from the air and create at this stage in her development, they're only like baseball-sized plasma bombs. Okay. And she can create them with both the left and the right hand, but she can't quite yet throw with her left hand at this point.
I see.
Like I said, at the stage that we're at in the story, she's only maybe a month and a half into being a part of the 1st Brigade.
Now, in issue 1, does she like absorb the energy from that blast that's about to take place? So she does have a manner of being able to absorb other types of explosions. Yeah, she can absorb to certain degrees, but as the results of what happened with that, there's still going to be some type of explosion. Yeah. And I was talking. Yeah, and I was talking earlier about Major Injury being upper level. So Trouble. Okay. The best way I can put it, at this stage, Trouble is top 3 powers wise on my team. Oh wow! Okay. Once she begins to develop and learn how to use her powers more, she is probably my most powerful character on the team. Okay. Like, but like I said, I factored in the fact that she has no experience. A lot of this is new to her. She doesn't even know the full extent of her powers, what she can and can't do at this point. But me as a writer, I know if she continues to progress, I know where she can go as a character within the team. Okay. And then I'll be honest, she's probably my character. I always say I don't have a favorite character, but she's probably my favorite character to write. It comes across. Because even now, I know I said issue 2 where we get to see like a lot of the banter in the back and forth and stuff like that. But we spend a lot of time with her in issue 1 when she's in that room with the people that are in danger. Yeah. You get so much more of an intimate kind of moment and character-driven kind of moments with Trouble more so than anybody. I feel like, again, you do a good job of showing. And you know what? That's actually too, thinking about talking about team books and team composure. It's that whole idea of that character that's kind of like the satellite character for the reader, the character that knows just as much as the reader. So it's okay if that character asks the question is inquisitive. So Trouble just kind of became my default
character for that, and the
Yeah.
reason being is because although she's the earliest creation of all of my characters, she was the last character I actually put on the team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Save the best for last.
the whole character crew, like the whole way this team came together was really it was a fascinating study in like random writing. That's the best way I can put it.
Now, next up was Shift that I was going to ask about, but since we spent a little time on Trouble, and it seemed like Friction had the most problems with her in regards to dialogue, let's talk about Friction and then we'll go to Shift.
Okay, so Friction, okay, excuse my language, Friction is the asshole of the team. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, she is like,
absolutely.
She is the jerk. She is the person that nobody wants to be around. She is like, and she does it, she likes doing it. Like,
that's insane.
Talking about his personality. So this goes back to Peter David's book on writing, like writing comics, and then also I got a chance years ago to meet Peter David at a convention, and he always talked about teams having like conflict within the team, like like some type of just something where everybody doesn't need to always agree. And what he would always use is the example of Quicksilver when he wrote X Factor. And how Quicksilver on that book was a jerk. Like nobody liked Quicksilver, but as a reader, you couldn't wait for Quicksilver to come on the scene because you never knew what he was going to say. Right. For me, that's hence the name Friction. When I came up with with Friction, it had nothing to do with her powers. It was literally personality. I was like, I need a character, because when I was thinking about Replica's character, I was like, okay, she's the pious, religious, studious, well-mannered type. What's the opposite of that? Somebody that's a complete jerk and doesn't care about anybody but themselves. Friction. And then I played into that by her being an ex-supermodel. I lived in New York for some years, so you get a
New York Fashion Week.
And so like you meet these, like not all of them, but you would meet someone and be like, oh my God, you really do only love yourself. Like and so like Friction was an easy character for me to write. I'm not that way at all, but like being able to just put her on the like put her in a scene and be like, okay, these two characters are gonna agree, and I automatically know she's not gonna agree. And what joy am I gonna give to the readers and to myself trying to navigate through this scene? So yeah, with Friction, and then talking about power level, she's like definitely within my top 3. Just a straight telekinetic. She has so in this universe there are no telepaths. It's too easy as a writer. It's too easy to write a telepath, whether they're a hero or a villain. You can manipulate somebody's mind. Okay. Done. So she's just a straight, she's just a straight telekinetic. So she can move objects, telekinetic blast, force field, she can fly. Matter of fact, she's the only flyer on the team. And
she flaunts that.
Yeah.
She's flying everywhere. I don't think she took a literal step at all.
Yeah. And that was something that was something my artist Lucas kind of came up with, and I was just like, oh, I love that detail. It's like it does really show that like she thinks she's above everybody. Like I'm literally never gonna touch the ground. Like typical Friction.
Yes.
And oh my God, I can't wait to see you guys read issue 3, because I have this particular there's this particular scene between Friction and Replica that just comes out of nowhere, and Lucas just laid out this page to a point where I'm just like, even when I'm looking at it, I'm just like, oh my God, this is gonna be fun. Like yeah.
So what are the upper reaches of Friction's power, right? Because again, we're talking top 3 on the squad.
So
more than her body weight, right?
Yeah, Friction. Okay, all right. So you remember that scene in X3 where Magneto moved the Golden Gate Bridge? You know how cheesy it was. Okay, minus the cheesiness, pretty much that's her upper echelon. As long as she has the mental capacity to do something with her abilities, she can do it.
Okay.
Her thing is her kryptonite, or the thing that would stop her from using her powers, would be stress, overexerting herself, things of that nature, things that any other human being would have to deal with. But as long as she's on our A game,
she's solid.
And then with her attitude, you definitely don't want to come against her in a fight. Like
okay. So and here's quick pause here, bro. You were doing a fantastic job of concisely telling us what these characters can do, which also tells me like you truly understand where you're going with these characters. And like one of the things that we run into in some other conversations is that people are scared that they're going to spoil their story by telling about the characters' powers and stuff. It shouldn't be that way. And you're proving that right now with, I know the characters, I know their backstory. I know, like you said, you made the personality first and that contributed to names, relationships, and power sets all together. So you're doing, this is fantastic.
I appreciate that.
I'm even more invested and ready for issue 3 than we already were. So anyway, you'll hear all of our comments and stuff like that on the what we're reading video. But no, anyway, fantastic job.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
So let's go over to Shift. Since we skipped over her there. What can Shift do?
Okay, so Shift is a short range teleporter. So she can move from Shift. She can move from place to place. The way I jokingly say, she's the Spider-Man of my team.
Yes,
like just always with a really bad joke.
Said I would rather not have the radiation exfoliation or something of that nature on that. Yes,
and I say for me as a writer, Shift is my voice within the team. By nature, I'm a very sarcastic joke. I use it just like Peter Parker Spider-Man. I use it as a means to deflect. So when I was writing this team and I was composing the team, I knew I wanted to have a humorous character. I've always loved those characters. They're always impossible to write because not all jokes land. But I just knew I needed that type of lightheartedness on this team. Even though as I've been starting to write this story, I've been realizing my characters are like a lot of them are jokesters in different ways, but like I go out of my way with her to make sure that okay, this is the person that's going to be trying to make the jokes. Not saying they're always going to land, but that's kind of her place on the team. But also I always think too, and this is something me and my father had conversations with the years in the past. He always talked about with comedians the idea of tears of a clown, like. Many of the people that make the biggest jokes and make people the happiest may be going through the hardest. They may be going through things that you may not know about. So that's pretty much Shift. Shift is always outwardly, she has this lighthearted, humorous nature. She's always quick to tell a joke, always to make fun of herself in situations. But there's a lot of things about her past that even she's still trying to run away with. Or run away from, I should say. And as the story progresses, that's something else that I think how we have it lined up. Yeah, I believe issue 5 will be the first time we'll touch on a little bit more of her past and kind of the tears from that clown part of her personality. And we haven't gotten to this character, but in terms of, I came up with her personality wise, and it was so, there's hold on, let me Iron Fist and Power Man. So I always love that dynamic, like two buddies that So when I came, you probably already know where I'm going with this. So like when I came up with Shift, I wanted it was the one time when I was coming up with pairs of characters where I didn't want an adversary combination. I wanted characters that click together. So for me, that was Shift, and then I probably hate to cut you off, but Susan Serenity.
No, yes. I'm with you. I was looking.
And when I was coming up with those characters, I came up with Shift. I immediately knew I was like, I want to pair with somebody that's has a different personality, but they get along. I didn't want them to I didn't want everybody on the team to be always at each other's throats. So with them, it was kind of this natural thing. Okay, Shift is this loud, goofy, and then Susan Serenity is stoic, really chill. She has a very dry sense of humor. She'll say some things. I mean, she hangs around Shift. They rub off on each other. But that was one of the things I enjoyed with writing issue 1 was just writing them together. Because I knew out of all of my characters, they would be the two characters that would just immediately click. So when I was writing their dialogue immediately clicked to me on the page. There's that scene in issue 1 where they're going after the suspect, and there's that whole thing about them talking about. I can't even say it.
No spoilers here.
I can't even say it. But there's a conversation between the two of them in the midst of the action, which to me it basically told. I hope it tells the readers or informs the readers about everything you need to know about their relationship.
Yeah.
Because when I wrote, that was another one of those ones when I got it on the page, I had to rewrite it like a couple of times to get it right. Because like when I first wrote that one, I had way too much dialogue. I was just like, oh my God,
Fair.
like this is like it's weighing this page down. And I was like, wait a minute, how do me and my friends talk to each other?
Mm-hmm.
And especially when we're kind of being just like goofy, and like how does it come across? And it's more snappy. So once I realized the rhythm of their conversation, and it just kind of came together. And then like so now whenever I write them, it's like I kind of feel like here's a hip hop reference. I always feel like when I write one, if I write Ghostface, I have to write Ray in the scene. Like,
Okay.
Like Wu-Tang. So it's like I feel like one has to come with the other.
No, that's
And
valid.
so it's like
that's
it's
valid.
fun
Okay.
writing them, but then it's a challenge. It's like, okay, at one point in time, I'm gonna have to separate the two.
Ooh, and I'm assuming issue 5 is probably going to be that one when we dive further into. Okay.
Yeah. But
So,
going kind of sliding back to Shift. So she's a short range teleporter. So like she can't go from like New York to LA.
Okay.
She can go maybe 10, 15 city blocks.
Okay.
And, so it's like
I like that. Okay.
She can move around, but she can't like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go to Paris for the weekend and hang out.
No.
You got to take a flight like everybody else.
Okay. Which again locks her down. Teleportation is a very good ability, but
yeah, it's not like, oh yeah, she's the end all be all. It's like she's not like Gateway or somebody. Which I mean, it's cool, but I always like those characters that, like you say, like I said, like they have abilities, but there's something that's always a bit better than them, so they have to outthink it to outdo type of scenarios. Where it's like, okay, with my limitations, what can I do to beat this person with all of these extra abilities?
Right.
So and it just, like I said, it gives me as a writer something to play with, and hopefully as readers something to like where they see something that they didn't expect. It was like, oh wow, I didn't think the character, or I didn't think the situation would happen or will play out in this way because the character's limitations.
Right. And what I love, right, when a character can't do everything, right, we get to see the ingenuity.
Yeah.
Right. We get to see, okay, how they're going to get it up out of the mud in this particular situation. Yeah, sure. They could teleport them anywhere. Yeah, drop this guy in a volcano. Keep it pushing.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So no, that's fire.
And then a little backstory about fighting ability. Okay, so Shift isn't probably the best. She's like Spider-Man year 1, year 2, year 3.
No spider sense, not just
no spider sense. Like she's like very chaotic in her fight.
Okay.
A lot of her fighting does rely on her mouth, like
which is how she ended up in the particular situation she was in when they was going against Toxic.
Right. So it's like it gets her into trouble, it gets her out of trouble. But she's also the only member of the team that was a solo hero before becoming a member of the First Brigade. However, in her case, being a Spider-Man S-type character, the bigger her adventures got, the bigger property damage got. To the point where it became a problem to the city of New York. So yeah,
reckless hero.
Yeah, so she's very reckless, like in terms of like fighting and like, so like she'll get the job done, but it's like, you got
at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you look behind you, it's like, oh, we just tore up that whole amusement park, but we got the criminal.
Yay? Question mark.
Question mark. So yeah, and I think with Shift in particular, it plays into her being like more of the comic relief of my team. So yeah, that kind of angle and avenue of why she wound, like how she wound up with like the team and things of that nature, I think it fits well with her. But it also plays into kind of her more tragic backstory too, because sometimes when you live in a world surrounded by recklessness and bad things, you can't help but to kind of cause that going forward, knowingly or unknowingly. So yeah, that's kind of Shift's burden.
Okay, dude. The fact that, and we'll move on to who do we want to move on to? No, we brought up Susan Serenity. We'll leave Backshot for last. But everybody is so vastly different.
Yeah.
Again, I'd be kind of regurgitating what I said earlier, but again, the level of thought that's in each of these individual characters and how they stay separate. Nobody's got the same power. Nobody's got the same backstory. And everybody is not the end all be all person is something very refreshing to see, right? Everybody still has to figure out how to navigate any given situation with the limited amount of powers and abilities that they have. And not everybody can fight.
Yeah.
Not everybody is a good fighter, and I love that. So, with all that being said, let's talk about who may potentially be the best fighter on the squad. Let's talk about Susan Serenity.
Susan Serenity. Okay, so Susan Serenity, her powers are she does have powers. So her powers are she can find any weak point in any solid object, mass things of that nature. Even anybody's idea. If it's like she can pinpoint weak points. Pretty much her ability. And she's the only person on the team that she's known as a natural. She didn't get her abilities through like some scientific accident, some freak of nature, some gods giving her powers, anything like that. She basically willed her powers into existence. And in this universe, she's as it stands in this universe, she's only one of one to do this. There's somebody else, but they don't know. But she's one of one in this regard, and basically that allowed her to be able to pinpoint weak spots. Now, separately, she's just a master of several forms of fighting. She picked up fighting from a young age. So, Sue Serenity's backstory is as a kid, she's second generation Chinese American. As a kid, she grew up watching kung fu flicks. Now, a lot of us, we grew up watching kung fu flicks and we would go outside and pretend, but we never really got serious about it.
Right.
She got serious about it. So by age 12, she was practicing 4 different forms of martial arts, plus I think Russian boxing. By 12 years old, she had obtained black belt status in all of these forms of fighting. By 14, Golden Gloves champion. By 15, she was a grandmaster and opened up her own dojo. So Susan Serenity, just fighting for her is like breathing for most people. It's something that's innate about her. She's also currently in the universe. She's the trainer of a women's MMA fighter and 2 former boxers. So not only can she fight, but she can train fighters. And so like her thing is like she's not necessarily one to get in a fight. She's not gonna necessarily pick a fight, but if you want to fight, she's gonna give you them hands. And that's the thing about, even though she's calm, her name is Susan Serenity, she's cool. She's a little cocky and confident about her fighting abilities because she knows how good she is. Like if you come in to fight Susan Serenity, like they say, if you going for the king, you better not, you better not miss. That's the same with Susan Serenity. If you coming for Susan Serenity, you better not miss because she does not play. Because
she's got your number. She can literally see whatever weak point you got. Like
she
it's
can
done.
see whatever weak point. Like so, and let's say you had a old high school knee injury from football. She can see that weakness. Now, is she gonna use it? Depends on how you fight her. She might be honorable and just give you them hands and karate chop you across the face a couple of times, or she's coming after that knee. You might not be walking again.
So when it comes to Susan Serenity, we're talking about can see weak points and can utilize 4 different fighting styles. Mastery over 4 different fighting styles.
Mastery over 4 different fighting styles.
And
I would say in terms of OP character, she's the closest to OP, but she has no superhuman strength, no superhuman durability, no superhuman speed, no.
Just kind of peak human.
Yeah, she's like peak human. So like, I would say, if her and minus Replica using her powers they would be about even in terms of strength and things like that.
And they're the only 2 that's really peak human in the traditional sense,
Yeah.
Because
I wouldn't even put the character you want to say flash. She's not even peak human.
Because I was wondering. Okay, well, here we are. I don't want to say best for last per se, but let's talk about Backshot.
Oh, Backshot. Backshot is one of those characters. Like I thought I knew the character when I originally started to create the character, and then as I started to write the character, I realized I knew nothing about this character. And it made it more fun and fascinating writing this character. Like, because I don't even know what this character is going to do. There's a scene early on in the story. I think it's like page 5 or page 6 of the first issue, where Major Indra and all the different team members are talking, right? And then Major Indra gets the back shot. And what is Backshot doing? What she shouldn't be doing. And I literally didn't think about that until I was writing the story and I got to that panel and I just wrote it in. And I was like, this is different than what I thought this character was going to be. I thought that when I originally was forming the character, I thought she was going to be more of a kind of like Black Widow-esque type character.
Yeah.
Like trained, secret, like spy type. And then when I got on the page, I realized, like, no, she's a criminal, but she doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, she's just so, like, aloof.
And
like,
I was saying, and then there was one point where it's like, well, weren't you supposed to be making sure that they don't get at it? Like, what are you doing, bro?
What are you doing? The whole thing goes sideways because she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing. But she's good at what she does, which is the funny thing. Like, so, expert weapons training. She's pretty decent at hand to hand. So, like, you put any gun in her hand, she's gonna be able to make that shot.
She's got the sauce. Okay.
Yeah, she's got the sauce, but she has no superhuman abilities. The helmet and gauntlets that she has does give her different unique things because of the cybernetics within the technology within them. So, like, different sights and things like that. But, like, on her own, no. You're not gonna see her like in that scene in Winter Soldier. She's gonna be the person getting passed on the left repeatedly. Like,
oh man, okay, on your left. Come on.
Yeah, she's not even a try hard. She may try. Like, Backshot is that character on the team. It's like, okay, you got everybody else, even Friction to a certain extent fits the team mode, and then you have Backshot. It's like, who let you in? Like, we
need you to lock in.
Yeah, we need you to lock in. Like, even this early in the story, the manager's giving the rundown. She's like, the one person she's telling to lock in is Backshot. Like,
come on now.
But yeah, Backshot was one of those characters because I thought I knew who she was, but realized I didn't know. She's my wild card on the team. In terms of like, because the team doesn't know what she's gonna necessarily do. I don't necessarily know what she's gonna do. We're all gonna find out together. Like,
okay,
so it's like,
my fault. I'm sorry.
No, what were you about to say?
No, and just looking at, I'm looking at the, I think this was the variant cover where they're all on the staircase.
Yeah, that's one of the variant covers.
Yeah, I'm just looking at them, and like, you get a good bit of the personality of all of the characters here. And I know you had a story in regards to that this is kind of based off of all your friends.
Yeah,
you and all your friends kind of sitting in a very similar position, but like everybody's kind of personalities are showcased on this cover. And when we get this video edited, well, I'll try to have this on there so everybody can see.
And it's funny you mentioned
Backshot's laid back, chilling,
just like, whatever. I got my gun, I don't care. But it's funny you mentioned my friends because when I gave that picture to Chris Cross, shout out to Chris Cross for doing that cover. All my friends' personalities were in their poses. So when I like basically put my characters of First Brigade in positions on the staircase, it was literally like I looked at my friends' poses and I was like, oh my God, that's this character. Oh my God, that's this character. Oh my God. So it was real easy for me to like my friends' personalities basically fit my characters' personalities for that cover. So it was like a perfect 1-to-1. Like, I even have friends now. They think that it's like, oh my God, you can't. I'm like, no, like these are two separate things. I didn't use my friends. They're not stand-ins for the characters. They just happen to fit the poses.
Just so happen. Okay.
Yeah.
No, and this is, dude, again, obviously we talked to Atlanta Comic-Con, but the level of excitement when we read the story was just like, dang, the covers are on point. Again, you'll see this on what we're reading, but like the covers and stuff are on point. The panel is on point. The art's on point. Stories on point, paces on point, the whole nine. Again, there is great care to each of these characters. And again, you said that, Backshot is the wild card, right? That we don't really know. But again, there is still some level of understanding on what you want the character to be that's kind of exuded through how you wrote the character. So all of these characters are amazing, dude.
Yeah, I say this because I took so long from when I initially developed the story to when I actually got the story physically in like a form where it can be read. These characters, these 7 women, lived in my head rent free for about a decade. So I don't know if it's the cheat, but for like the last 10 plus years before I actually got to physically do my first issue, I got to pretty much hear their story from like their past to their present to what they want to do in the future. So it's easier for me to kind of write all of them with care because they're all here. Like,
yeah,
I always say this for me with First Brigade, I'm not the writer. I'm just the person that they come to tell me the stories that they want the world to know.
Okay.
So yeah, so like the first issue was just like, okay, this is who we are. They're not a perfect team by any stretch of the imagination. Like, that's the one thing I want to press upon. I like the way I kind of looked at First Brigade is like it's like an office dramedy.
Okay.
Like, you don't always get along with everybody you work with, but you always have to work with who you have to work with.
Still gotta get a job to get done.
You still gotta get the job done, and that's why I love having a character like somebody like Friction or Backshot or even Trouble on the team, because it's like I say the other characters that I didn't mention would be the more stable characters on a more traditional. If it was a more traditional superhero team, those would be the characters that would be the stable pieces. Then everybody else is like, well, do we really need these people on our team? But in a workplace, hey, if the hiring manager hires that person,
that's it.
That's who you stuck working with on that shift. Oh, I don't like Sarah. It's too bad you got to work with Sarah today.
Because I think there was a conversation where Replica was just like, hey, look, Indra said, or the major said, look, we're gonna trust the process.
We're gonna trust the process, right?
There's gonna be colorful. There's gonna be colorful personalities, if you would, on any given team. And that.
So that's kind of what helped me. Yeah, I love superhero comic books, but I don't necessarily think of it as a straight superhero comic. That's why going from issue 1 to 2, it may seem extreme, but to me it was natural. It's like, okay, the first issue, let me show everything. Let me give you like kind of a smorgasbord, a little taste of what all these characters are about. And then issue 2 was like, okay, let me just slow down the pace and let me really get to let the readers know some of these characters on a deeper level. That and the fact that, I'll be honest, me and Lucas came up with a character that's in that book. I won't spoil anything, but there's a character in that book that we devised. And when we came up with the final like look of this character, I immediately had a story. This issue 2 wasn't planned. Like, that wasn't something I was like, I had a whole different issue 2 planned.
Okay.
And
so you're talking about I
was in the planning stage, because how I did First Brigade is I literally plotted out all 12 issues. So I have all 12 issues plotted out, even though it's a one-and-done style, because I'm seeding bigger things to come. So I had an initial idea for what I want to do with the first 12 issues. And like I said, we got this. Lucas came back to me with this great character concept, and I immediately had this great idea. Like I said, I thought it was going to be Replica versus this particular character and wound up being Trouble. But that notwithstanding, I kind of came up with this idea. And as I started to write this issue, I was like, oh my God, I have a way to come back to some things I did in this issue in a later point. So, and it basically eliminated a whole nother story that I had in mind. I was like, okay, I got to scrap that because this is a better story idea. So along the way, it pretty much rewrote how I wrote the series because of this one character.
Wow. Okay. And of course, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know exactly. And I've been really, it's funny because even with my own personal promotions through my Instagram, I haven't revealed a lot of things about that issue. Okay, I'll be honest. My promotions are a lie. Like, the way I've been promoting it, but if you've read the issue, so if you go back and look at my Instagram, Bunny Pop Press, like, look at any of the promotions for issue 2, and you'll understand why I say it's a lie.
Okay, I'll take a look.
But it's like, okay, so I hate spoilers. I don't watch trailers. If it's something I want to watch, I want to come to it brand new, fresh. So with promoting my work, it's the same thing. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want to give any of my major story beats away. So how can I dance around it and still intrigue you and like to want to buy this issue or want to get involved in it? So yeah, issue 2 was stuff with like the people that I was working with at the time that were doing my promotions because they wanted to reveal certain things. I was just like, no, no, this was
Don't do it.
Like you gotta understand, this is like one of those moments in comics that doesn't come around often.
Fair. Okay. And they played ball. Okay.
You read issue 2, so I won't say anything. But when you got to that point, did it surprise you?
In regards to, hold on, wait.
In issue 2. So when you get to the point where you learn what's going on, as well as Trouble and Replica learn what's going on.
Yeah.
Did that surprise you? Or was it like kind of like you weren't expecting what?
Yes.
And that's what.
Yes, and we will talk a little bit more offline about that. But yeah, no, and okay, there is a line in there. I don't know if this is spoilers.
I think I know the line, and I wrote that on purpose.
Okay, because then it happened on the panel. You're just like,
I wrote that on purpose.
Yes.
And, okay, without spoiling anything, so I have a buddy that's a huge fan of one of those particular characters I mentioned. Right, and I would always make a joke like, oh, the only thing that character was good for was, and so like when I was writing that scene, I initially so full disclosure, when I was writing that scene, I wrote it completely different. Okay, like the writer in me took over, and I wrote that scene completely different, and then the editor in me had to come in later and was like, no, you can't do that.
You can't do it like that.
And the editor was like, hey, you know how much it costs to create these characters, and so I had to go back as a writer. I had to get creative in that whole scene. And then once I got that scene drawn, that's another thing. I had one line of dialogue written out, and I seen the page like that Lucas sent me, and I was like, oh no, I gotta go there. I was like, I have to go there. And then here's a funny thing. So my letterer is somebody that's worked on Batman comic books before. No spoilers, but
okay.
So that was real fun too, being able to write that line and then have somebody that's actually just like, oh, this is too fun.
Been in the industry for real. For real. Okay. Dude. Everybody watching, obviously we skirted around some spoilers here. If you want to know exactly what we're talking about, you need to pick up First Brigade issues 1 and 2 and let us know then, of course, where we can find you, where we can purchase this book, so on and so forth. Okay,
so currently you can purchase First Brigade at bunnypoppress.com. You can also purchase digital copies on, I believe I have them on Amazon and globalcomics.com as well. Yeah, so I have issue 1 up digitally, and I'll have issue 2 up by the end of this week digitally. And then, like I said, you can always buy physical copies from me. I still have copies of both the main covers plus the 2 variant covers of issue 1 up on the website, and what he currently has up in hand is issue 2.
I'm trying to think. I think I had the other.
Wait. I think I got. Wait, where did I put mine? Hold on. So yeah. So I got this issue 1.
Yep.
Yeah, and then what you got is the variant cover. You got the main cover by Lucas Perez. You got the variant cover by C Dubs, and that's somebody you're also familiar with.
Yes.
Yes. Shout out to C Dubs. And here's a funny quick story. C Dubs is actually the artist that did all the concept art for the characters originally. All 7 women First Brigade. When I was originally trying to find an artist to work on concepts, I reached out to him, and he graciously accepted, and he put his foot into it. I gave him like my rudimentary like drawings, and what he came back with was magic. I was so floored. There were certain things and details that he added, which made me like kind of do things differently with the characters, and that's something that like you understand this as a creative. You like when you're dealing with somebody else also creative, they add something, they throw something to the pot. You're like, ooh, I didn't think about that, but yeah, let's work with that.
And it helps when they're invested too.
Yes. Like I can say that about. I've been shouting out my artists. I can say that about Lucas. They're like issue 2 for a perfect example. I believe it is page 4 or 5. It's one of the earlier pages. No, I think it's page 5, and just the background detail. The background detail for me floored me, because when I wrote the script, I didn't get that heavy in describing the background. And I remember he sent me back the preliminary pages in black and white, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I felt sorry. I was like, my God, it took you, like, you had to do all this extra work. Next time, let me pare down my script. And he was like, no, I did that on my own. And he's like, no, you didn't write that in the script. That was just for me. I just felt like doing it. You felt like doing all of that? Oh. So yeah, that he's somebody I've been working with now, especially on this project. If he comes in, let's say for instance, there's a particular scene later in the story, he literally changed what I wrote. Right? He came in, he changed what I wrote, and then he came to me and was like, hey, this is why I changed it. Let's try it this way. If you don't like it, we can do something different. But we've been working together by this point, we've been working together for about 5 years. I trust his judgment. So he was like, he wants to change it. I was like, hey, Lucas, change it. As a writer, I just had to step up my game and come up with something more creative to do in terms of like dialogue in that page. And then what he came up with was one of the funniest moments in the story. Like, I wish I could take credit for it. Like, it's just you probably noticed the page I'm talking about. It's just like that random moment. Yeah. And I did not come up with that at all. The only thing I did was like, I saw what he did, and I was like, okay, let me not overwrite this, and let me just play around with the dialogue as this thing goes across the page. But like, and the matter of fact, in the current issue we're working on is another point, but this one was more like a Bob Ross happy accident than him changing the page. So I wrote the script, had one thing happening. I can say this without giving away the story, but I had a car pop in at one point in the story and pick up a character, and then later on in the story, this car appears, but he misread the script and thought something didn't happen, or something that was supposed to happen off panel didn't happen off panel, so he left something in. And I'm looking at the page, it's like, oh no, that's comic gold. We can use that. It's like, I was like, he's like, no, we can change. Like, no, trust me.
Leave it.
Like this is a great happy accident. I was like, I already at that point, I literally immediately had the dialogue in my head. It was like, no, I'm like literally rewriting this thing right now. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, it's for me as a writer, I've been writing since I was 12. And most people that write in isolation. You never really, like, when you write a story, whether it's a book or short story, it's just you. You may have an editor, but you never really get a chance to collaborate with people. So like, and with the exception of if I was doing a movie or a TV show, this is the closest I'm going to get to collaborate with somebody on something I wrote. And having an artist that kind of sees your idea and can push it forward in ways that you can't even imagine.
A1.
Hey, like, I'll say this, with me and Lucas, I knew we had something when we were working on issue 1. And I think it's page 5. It's a 10-panel page. 10 panels. Now, most comic writers know that's, in most cases, that's a no-no. That's a lot of panels thrown on the page. When I first wrote the first Brigade script, I didn't know any better. Because like most of my writing I had done previously to actually writing comic scripts, I was doing short stories, fiction, novels and stuff. So I was doing a lot of longer writing. And with writing scripts, I come to find out you have to be short and concise and to the point. Yeah. So I wrote this 10-panel page, and I mean, I had this thing littered with like so much dialogue, it would have made your head spin. And Lucas came to me, he's like, this is a tricky panel to do. He's like, a lot of panels, and it's a lot of dialogue. And I was like, Lucas, don't worry about the dialogue. I'll worry about that later. And he's like, he was still hesitant on doing this panel. And you've seen that page. Yeah. And when I got that page back, I was like, oh my God, he nailed this thing. Like, just like the way everything bounces. So I can tell you this. I literally scrapped all the dialogue, and I wrote the dialogue as if it was one person talking.
Huh. Okay.
Obviously, it's different people talking, but that's the way I had to approach writing that particular page, because there were so many panels on the page, and the panels were so detailed. He had so much story he was telling in the page. I knew as a writer, I couldn't filter. Like, I didn't want to smother the page with just needless dialogue bubble. So I was like, okay, how can I do this and still show off this amazing art and to show off this amazing flow of this page and how these panels move without hindering the work of my artist? So it was like, just kind of write it as one person talking, because it's literally everybody's kind of talking at the same time. It's kind of like one person talking, just talking over people. So that's kind of how I wrote the page. I literally wrote it as one person talking and just kind of split the dialogue up as I was like fitting everything in every different place in that page. And it just, once I got that page, I was like, yeah, we got something. We have something. Like, we weren't even finished with the book by that point. I was like, yeah, we have something.
He said, oh, we're locked in.
Yeah, because I was like,
we're locked in at this point.
I was like, there's no way I can get another artist to do this thing, because So here's a funny short story. When I originally was going to do how I originally perceived First Brigade, because I'm doing it in a one and done type idea, I wanted to get different artists for the different stories I want to write. And basically I was writing my scripts to cater to different artists with a different art style. So like I have like a more horror centric story that's coming up down the line. So I kind of was writing it more of a horror sense geared towards artists that are good and that, you know. But what happened was I started working with Lucas, and we started off just working on character concepts. We kind of got locked in immediately. And then from there, I just started to, it got to the point where I was literally like trying to find work for him to do. It was like, I don't need this stuff, but I was like, I need to keep working with this guy. So it got to the point where I got all of my copyrights and all my legal stuff done with my comics. So I was like, okay, now it's time to start working on these books. I reached out to C-Dubs at the time. He was mad busy on some other things because I was like, okay,
that sounds about right.
I was like, okay, this is the dude that did my concept art. So that was my original idea. He did the concept art. I was like, okay, maybe I go to him to do the first issue, and then I can find different artists to do other issues. C-Dubs was busy, so I was no hard feelings. Hey, I understand you got a lot of things going on. So I was like, okay, that's when I reached out to Lucas. It's like, okay, hey, Lucas, I got this script for issue 1 of this thing, because he had by this point he did a lot of the character concepts for the bulk of my villains for this story. Like he didn't do any, like obviously C-Dubs did the heroes, but he did like pretty much 90% of my villains. So I was just like, okay, this would be a good, like if I couldn't get C-Dubs, I was like, all right, this would be the perfect second choice. Yeah. And so originally he was like, well, I would love to do it, but I'm currently working on another comic project with somebody else. And it could have been less time, it could have been more time, but it must have been like a day or two later. I get a text from him. He's like, hey, do you still happen to have that script? I was like, yeah, I still got the script. Hey, can you send it to me? I immediately like emailed it off to him. Right. And so he's like, oh man, I think I can work on this. And then he comes back to me. He's like, so what happened was I basically decided I didn't want to work with that guy. I really want to work with you on this story.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So, all right, we can get that. And at that point, it was just like, hey, let's just get this first issue done. And like I said, we got to page 5, and I was just like, hey, would you be willing to do more issues? And like, so from that point on, I literally rewrote the scripts that I had done. I rewrote to fit what Lucas is great at. And like, and also adding in things that he suggested, things that he likes to do. And then any other scripts that I hadn't gotten done, I literally just geared towards what Lucas could do. Perfect example, issue 2. The one thing I always love about him, and he's always like saying he's not good at it, is his facial expressions. That man, he does some amazing facial expressions. He doesn't think he does, and I'm always like, dude, like this is the reason like some of these scenes I rewrite, or I've literally rewrote some pages, like in issue 2. That whole scene with Trouble and that whole dialogue back and forth, I rewrote that scene because I'm looking at what he was doing in issue 1, and I'm just looking at facial movement and expressions. Like, no, I need more close-ups. I need to get more emotion out of these characters. And sometimes you can get a lot said with a character, not by what they say, but how they react to what they say. Like, just that page and then that page after, and like I always joke and say, it's Replica's facial expressions that takes over in that next page. And like just how things like that happen. So like with me and Lucas, it was like, yeah, he's great at action, he's great at pacing, but oh man, this dude really excels at faces and like body language. So let me play into that a little bit more in my scripts as well. And then it's like also, it's like we're also on a similar wavelength, because it's like issue 1 we kind of had a good, like the same idea. Issue 2 we were like completely locked in. Like I said, there's a character in there. If you were to interview him and you would ask him who's his favorite character, we would say the same character. Like that's how much
without speaking prior to. It's like no. They are on the same page.
Yeah. So like that was like we were completely locked in with issue 2, and then the current issue we're working on was like I was literally kind of hesitant on this, like giving him this script, because like I said, it's a one and done. It's one done. So like not all like issues 1 through 6 I can kind of play around with in terms of where they need to go in terms of how the story develops. Yeah. But without giving the story away, it's more of a, so if you're in the anime or manga, you know how like there's a always that point of a manga or anime where they take the vacation or
oh Lord, the beach episode.
Yeah, the beach episode. So like I jokingly say this is my beach episode. And I was at first I was hesitant. I was like, man, maybe it's too early in the series to do a beach episode. But once I gave Lucas the script and he was reading over it and he's seen what I was doing, he's like, no, this works because now it gives us a chance to really get into the personal lives of the characters outside of the uniform. And when he told me, I was like, oh my God, you're right. It's like this comes at the perfect place in this story, especially because how fast-paced issue 1 is, and then all the craziness that occurs in issue 2. It's just like it goes from 0 to bananas real fast in issue 2. So it's like
they already need a break.
Yeah, they already need a break. And it's like I'm quite sure that at this point, readers are gonna be wanting to know a little bit more about my characters outside of their costume. So I think this 3rd issue that's coming up that we're working on is gonna be I love issues 1 and 2, but issue 3 is probably gonna be like a new personal favorite.
Okay. No, so with that being said, I did mean to ask, you do have digitals as well, right?
Yeah, like I said, on Amazon and Global Comics, this is strictly digital. And then on my website, and then on my website, issue 1 is up physically and digitally as well. And then I didn't put issue 2 up digitally yet, but I'll once I get that all on Amazon and everywhere else, it'll be on my website as well digitally.
Okay, fair enough.
My thing is, I want to get my stuff out to as many people as humanly possible.
Definitely.
I love writing comics, but my biggest thing is I love people's reaction to reading my comics.
Well, I have the group for you. So I do need to, and I'll shoot that link over to you for that. This is for you and anybody that's watching at the moment. Indie Breakdown a couple years ago expanded to being more than just the show. We do have a group now, which is about 5,000 strong now. And all week, you know what I'm saying, Monday through Saturday, talk about your characters, power stats and abilities. We do events. We have a database that we have on indiebreakdown.com. But then Sunday is like promo Sunday, where it's like drop the links, get people to buy and stuff like that. But like all week is like get people invested in those characters. And so to your point, you know, spend the day talking about interest, spend the day talking about trouble, so on and so forth. So people would be like, where can I read about more about these characters? Say less. I got you. Then the conversion happens, and now more people are talking about it, so on and so forth. I am going to get better at putting these also on Spotify as well, so that we can try to get to as many people as possible. But yeah, so and then of course all this will be on our YouTube for it. So Indie Breakdown, the YouTube, and of course all videos, audio, and breakdowns of other stuff will be available at indiebreakdown.com. And I don't think I said this to you offline or during the show, but we do breakdowns of the characters as well. So after this,
I did check that out last night when I was looking at it. I was like, I seen, oh my God, I can't remember the character, but I watched a couple. I was like, oh, that's really slick.
Yes. So I'll probably either I'll ask for it, I'll probably just buy or get it off of Global Comics, the digitals, so that I can make sure that I have the images accordingly to do the breakdown for you as well. So that again, concisely, I can tell them at least to the best of my ability from what you've told me and what I see in the books, what all everybody could do and get people more hype for the characters and stuff like that. So
I appreciate this. I appreciate the time we talked at the convention. That convention was eye-opening for me. It was like my second convention. It was my first major big convention, and I don't think it was too big, but it was great meeting like-minded creators, especially like us. Like we grew up lifelong comic fans, and to be able to turn that into like a passion into like something physical and relevant, where we can say, "Hey, look at what I have." Like
something tangible.
Yeah, something tangible. It's like it's the best feeling in the world. I know you have to feel the same way. It's just like being able to get out there and just like really promote your work and like really having a love and a passion for what you do.
Yeah, and being able to come on here and do this with y'all, right? Like that. Even more so, because sometimes, as you know, you kind of get stuck in a bubble sometimes, like, all right, I got to do this thing here. But being able to talk to, like you said about the convention, talk to other like-minded people, see the excitement of people reading the stories, getting feedback, so on and so forth.
I got some feedback the other day because like I've been trying to figure out, I don't know, maybe I'm too close to the sun with this one, but I've been trying to figure out what my comic reminds people of. Like when they say, "Oh, hey, First Brigade reminds me of fill in the blank." So I was asking some like people that read it, and I had one buddy. He's like, "Man, it's hard to describe," but he's like, "It kind of reminds me of Deadpool and Spider-Man." And I was like, I'll take that. It's like I personally don't. I think I have funny moments, but I didn't think it was that humorous. But I was like, dude, if you took that, because he was like, he really liked the banter. He's like, I love the banter between the characters back and forth. It reminds me of Spider-Man and Deadpool. I was like, that's kind of interesting. But I need a larger sample size because I'm like, what does everybody else think about it?
So personally, and then we'll get ready to wrap up here. But I thought about like Wildcat. Was it Wildcats with the two cats? Yeah, Wildcats. I think that's what it is. You remember that show?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's what I think I get from it, right? Not Wildcats. What was the joy? SWAT Cats.
SWAT Cats, yeah.
That's it. I'm like, not Wildcats. That's not right.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. I was a fan of SWAT Cats back in the day.
That's the vibe I get from First Brigade for sure.
But here's the thing. So for me, this is the wholehearted truth. My inspiration is Batman the animated series.
I can see that too, though. I can see that.
Yeah, that was pretty much a base because like I said before, I got really into hardcore writing comics. I was writing novels, short stories, so I was writing these long form things. So for me as a writer, I was like, I want to take a break from writing longer form stories. You know, that slow burn. Yeah. And so I was like, by that point, I think I would start rewatching Batman the animated series. I mean, I grew up watching it as a kid, and I was like, wait a minute, like every episode was a self-contained story. And that's when the light bulb went off. That's actually kind of what helped form First Brigade as a team, because once I realized I wanted to do one and done, and I knew I had a team format, it kind of opened up the avenue because I knew, okay, I don't necessarily have to tell a story with all 17 members. I can do a story like issue 2, where I can only devote the issue to 2 characters, or if I want to do 5 characters, or if I want to do all 7 characters, but I want to break them up into different places in the story. I have that ability because all I have to do is tell it in that one issue. Right. But if there are things that obviously as a writer and as a comic book writer, there are definitely things that I want to link into something bigger going down the line. There's a spoiler alert in the issue 1 that kind of is gonna play out a little bit more in the story. Like there's a reason the ends of my issues definitely are hinting at bigger things.
I'm ready for the ramifications of the ending of issue 2. Buddy had tears in his eyes and everything. I was like, "Ooh, you're cooked. You're cooked."
Yeah. And speaking of Batman animated series, that ending actually was inspired by an episode of Batman animated series. I can't remember the exact episode, but at the end of the episode, there was like a gangster that wronged. I think it was either Mr. Freeze or Penguin, and he got away with it. But Batman basically was saying at the end of the story that this dude wasn't gonna live a very long life. At the end of that game, playing that game, and you kind of the last of the image, the story ended on this guy kind of like in his house or whatever, like in fear. Like he knew he wasn't gonna make it, and so kind of the end of the issue 2 was kind of like I wanted to play off of that, and then also I was directly playing off of something a character said the page before.
Yes, yeah, no, and that's the one I was referencing earlier. It's like,
and that was literally on purpose. That was me not breaking the fourth wall, but almost breaking the fourth wall. Yeah, because it was like when I write that character has, I don't write it with any filter. Yeah. So it's like, it's pretty much whatever crazy thing I may think of or say.
That's that character.
It's literally going into like, that's why when that person comes up, it's funny. Oh my God, I'm trying not to spoil it.
No spoilers. It will.
When something happens in that particular issue and there's some singing, that was real life me. I was literally singing that. I was singing that while I was writing that. So I was like, wow. Oh my God.
That's a lie. No, but to close out then, one more time, of course, let everybody know where they can pick your stuff up, social media and stuff. And then we'll get out of here.
All right. So social media is bunnypoppress.com. I'm sorry, just bunnypoppress at Instagram. Also on Facebook. I have a Twitter, but you won't find me too active on Twitter. Also, there's bunnypoppress.com. That's where you can find issues 1 with the variant covers as well as issue 2. We also have t-shirts, hats, coffee mugs, and a few other things. We've got character bios, all the character bios for the characters in First Brigade on the website, as well as a few criminals or villains that have some shown up in the story, some yet to show up, but they will be introduced in the next coming issues. I may have a few teasers about some other things from like various projects that I've been working on the website as well. But yeah, that's where you can find most of my stuff. Digitally, you can also find me on, I believe it is globalcomics.com, and as well as what is that? Amazon.
On Amazon. Okay.
Yeah, so
thank you for coming on, dude. And obviously we're gonna have plenty more conversation, but
yeah,
thank you for coming on. Thank you for being part of this. We, of course, one of our missions is to help redefine power scaling in the indie world. So being able to do a breakdown and talk more about your characters and learn more about your characters is definitely helping towards that goal. So again, can't say thank you enough to everybody that's watching. Guys, this season, I said this to Tasha. I think I said this on the last episode. I'm definitely going to say it on this episode. This is probably the most excited I've been for a season since we started. So y'all see me cheesing way more right now because I'm just like, wait a second. Like the level of understanding that you and our previous guests have about their characters, what's going on. In the previous episode, that guy could do just about anything. But there was caveats. There was caveats to each one of the things. It's just like, ooh, like each character is compelling. So anyway, before I go on my rambling spill, everybody that's listening, you can find all previous interviews on indiebreakdown.com, as well as the breakdowns of each one of the characters. And I was going to say creator clashes for each season, but we didn't have one last season. But the creator clash, and I'm letting you know this as well here, is that we bring back all 10 people from the season and get ready for an indie versus matchup. So, we'll do a really brief about, hey, introduce yourself to the character once more. We'll play the breakdown, and then we'll say, what character do you think can win an indie versus matchup, right? Between you and the other 10 characters. You challenge one of them, and we'll play the video. And then while we're going over everybody else's, you're kind of devising your plan and saying, I think my character could beat this character because, and then you guys kind of have a back and forth and so on and so forth. And at the end of all that, what we end up doing is we do a randomizer wheel and determine the actual matchup for the season. And then I write a script based on everything I know between between those two characters or groups of characters, and have a actual who I think would win out of them. And that, again, just kind of generates more conversation, more intrigue for the characters and stuff like that. And then of course you guys get to see my thought process and all that other stuff. And I try to stay true to how you guys as characters are personality wise and how they react in the respective stories as well. So plenty more to come. This is only the first phase of it. Interview breakdown, then the creator clash. So be on the lookout for all of that, dude. So it was so good chatting with you again, dude.
Yeah, man. Appreciated it. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Oh yeah, real soon. And for everybody that's watching, once more, I'm Lloyd Jones with Indie Breakdown. And once more, thank you guys for helping us redefine power scaling in the indie world. We will see you all next time.
Bitch, I'm